Today I'm going to let my son do the introductions.
A co ma mówi? Hello everyone, this is Taureor.
Pięknie. Some of you have expressed concerns about the German Civil War. So here's a guide on how to essentially skip it. Well, not really skip it, but to make it so easy that it's not a problem for anyone. Let's get into the game. Regular difficulty, historical focuses, not Iron Man, because we'll be reloading for different paths. First, I will provide a generalized guide and then do optimization for each of the paths you can take after the war, whether it's communist, democratic, or non-aligned. There will be timestamps in the video description, but do watch the generalized version first, as I will be referring to it. Now, it's important to note this guide is for people who either have trouble winning the Civil War and need a leg up on that, or those who just don't like it, want to skip it entirely, and just go straight into playing their favorite ideology. So if you actually enjoy the Civil War as a challenge, this is not for you. This video is for you if you just wanted the Civil War to be taken care of and don't mind some cheese and exploits. Because yes, we will be using some mild exploits here. Right, let's get going. First things first, the focus. In order to start the Civil War, we need to rally the Wehrmacht, but we are not starting with it. We're starting with develop modern maneuver warfare instead. Why? I need the army experience. So let's do that one. Oh, one more thing. For the sake of simplicity, I will be prioritizing economic growth in all the paths, because it's simpler, less cumbersome, and you don't need to focus on it so much. Research. I'll do generic research. This should benefit any playstyle. Construct some civilian industry over here. As for military industry, we will need some artillery, so let's make as much as our tungsten allows us, a little bit of support equipment, not too much, one factory on trucks, and the rest just goes to infantry equipment. We'll need lots of that. Do not forget to start a spy agency. And let's assign this guy to just accumulate breakthroughs. We start with 30 units that are well trained and well equipped. Well, not for long. We will be destroying them essentially. And that's it. Speed the game up and unpause. Upver is done. My general advice about the spy agency is that just keep upgrading it until you get 5 upgrades at least, so you can get an extra spy. Modern maneuver warfare is complete. Let's pause the game and use all that army experience on templates. This is a very integral part of the strategy. Yes, it's an exploit, a minor one. We are going to make our army absolutely terrible, then deploy a lot of that terrible unit, so our enemy in the Civil War has to use it, because the AI does not switch templates. Let's create an empty template and make the terrible unit we will be using. Just one artillery, nothing else. Let's call it trash art. It's artillery, but it's trash. That's 5 army experience. Now we create another new template, and it's just going to be one single infantry battalion. Why? So we can deploy a lot of units quickly. We'll just call it small and give it a kitten icon so it's easy to distinguish. Save that. That's another 5 army experience. And now we duplicate this. Let's give it some other icon. The helmet will do, with the skull on it. And we use the remaining 15 army experience to add more pure infantry to it. This is just a pure infantry template with 8 width. It's not as good as one would support or with artillery would be, but it's perfect for Civil War because we can equip a lot of that. So save. To reiterate, we have 3 new templates. Just one artillery, just one infantry for quick deployment, and 8 width infantry to actually fight. Now we train a lot of the small template, as much as we can in fact, just once, and deploy it somewhere here, Wilhelmshaven or Cuxhaven, something like that, and prioritize it. But we don't have enough equipment to train all of that at once. Not a problem. We go to our army, and all this wonderfully trained and equipped army is going to be switched into the small template. Their equipment will go back into the stockpile, and we can use it to train the new units. Unpause, and they are all equipped and training. And this is the point of divergence, actually. From here, I recommend slightly different moves depending on whether you want to go democratic, communist, or non-aligned. The differences will be slight, but there will be some. Let's start with a democratic option first, and then I'll show you non-aligned and communist, which will be slightly different. But first, a message from a sponsor. This video is brought to you by Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus. Tacticus is a fast-paced, free, mobile, tactical game, as the name might suggest, set in the world of Warhammer 40,000. Officially licensed, of course. One thing I appreciated when playing it is that they made it work vertically, which might seem like a small thing, but actually makes playing it much more comfortable for me. In Tacticus, you can fight the AI or other players, and enjoy all the fresh content, game modes, events that the developers keep introducing. The game actually has a very high rating, over 4.5 0.5 in the app stores, so you shouldn't be disappointed. If this looks like something you would enjoy, follow the link in the description below or scan the QR code on the screen and download the game. It's free, so try it out, and if you use the code HELLOJAN, as in January, you'll get 2000 gold and 50 Blackstone, but only until the end of the month, so try it out. Let's make a save that we'll go back to. Oh, I will also show you how to stabilize the country a little bit after the Civil War. For the democratic path, we now rally the Wehrmacht. We're ready for the Civil War, essentially. And pause and focus on deploying these troops that we're preparing as soon as possible. Loyalty of the Kriegsmarine, you can pick the first option if you want Eric Raeder to rule your country, otherwise no. Watch these, and as soon as they can be deployed, do deploy them. Do not delay this. We now have 233 units in the field. They're all the terrible small template. It's just one infantry battalion. But it gets worse from here. Now we switch them all to the trash artillery template. Why? Well, it's terrible. We have 516 artillery and 200 units. Make sure to select everybody to do that. So each unit will get 2 and a bit artillery, which is absolutely perfect because we want them as weak as possible. As you can see, each of them still has 100 of infantry equipment. They're going to need time to replace that with artillery, and the unit cannot have 0 equipment, so first they need to receive the artillery to get rid of the infantry equipment, which is why we need to do it as soon as possible and give them time to replace equipment. Why? If they keep the infantry equipment, they will not be as weak as they should. In time, you'll see that the equipment will be switched over. And here we go. Now, this unit has just 2 cannons, nothing else. No sidearms, nothing. They are terribly, terribly weak. Soft attack 1.3, defense 0.5, hit point 0.6, because they only have 2 cannons. They'll die at the slightest attack, and that's exactly what we want. In comparison, this last unit got full equipment, full of artillery, so their attack and defense actually are something, but they're still very weak. At this point, we're ready to fight the Civil War. Let's get the spy and wait for Rally the Wehrmacht to complete. Rally the Wehrmacht is complete. We got extra political power. We're at 284, and this is the last moment before you click this button. Don't click this button yet. This is the last moment where you can justify war goals as a fascist and then use them as a democratic or non-aligned country. Communists don't need to do that because they can justify normally. And if you want to avoid guarantees and attack someone as a democratic country, you can, for example, justify on Luxembourg and the Dutch East Indies like I did in my democratic Germany playthrough recently, or pick a medium-sized country and just do one. I think justifying on just Poland should still fly under the radar. Then again, think this through carefully because you might not need to justify anything depending on the choices you want to make later. The Dutch East Indies are a very good first target because you get a lot of resources at a very low cost. But don't attack the Netherlands, attack the Dutch East Indies if you're doing that. Less world tension and no chance of the puppet going independent. Of course, you don't have to attack anybody, but you can. If I start justifying now, the justification will continue during the Civil War and after it, and I will retain the war goal, even as a democracy. And this dude looks like my grandpa. For this guide, we're not justifying anything. Let's purge the Nazi scum from our land. We start the Civil War. We're now August von Mackensen, the great war hero. Let's tend to the army. When the German Civil War starts, you receive 24 units of Landsturmregiment, which is just a 6 with infantry unit. It's enough. Let's pull them all into a single army and send them to the front line so we don't get pushed back. I will even tell them to attack cautiously. We also have 116 of the absolutely terrible artillery template. You can keep all of them, but to make it look nice and clean, I will cut my army down to a full army group, which means I'll disband 20 of them, so we have 96 left. And those 96 artillery units that are absolutely terrible will be switched into the infantry 8 template now. I should have about enough infantry equipment for everybody, and I definitely have enough manpower for everybody. And they'll just stay here until they receive their guns and equipment. This is what wins us the war, because our enemy also has the equivalent of the Landsturmregiment, and they also have 100 of those artillery units that are absolutely terrible. The problem with the AI, in this case, is that they do not switch templates. So the AI will keep the terrible units and just let me kill them. Let's assign these guys into armies. With 5 armies, we have a full army group. Let's give it to August von Mackensen, our war hero, give him offensive doctrine, and assign generals to these. Looks like we kept the good generals, most of them. Now, these guys do not go to the front lines yet. First, they need to receive their manpower and equipment. If you send them to the front lines now, they will just die. You can decrypt your enemy, but honestly, it won't take that long. Let's send the spy there for a small boost in attack and start a new national focus. We are doing prioritize economic growth. It will lower non-aligned support, but that's not a problem. We're going democratic anyway and switch us to civilian economy, but again, we can switch out of that. Just 35 days, and we won't have to worry about the methyl bills and all that. Do not forget that you have an air force. If you don't want to manage it manually, you can just select all of them, put them on a superiority and CAS, and assign them to the army that you sent to the front lines. They'll help a little bit. Let's unpause and observe our units. Germany embroiled in civil war. Austria bans, doesn't matter. There's some fighting on the border, but it is really not relevant. Right now we just need to wait for these guys to get equipment and manpower. As you can see, manpower is trickling into the units. Expatriated communists. We're going democratic, so no. Alright, they got their infantry equipment, at least half of it, and all their manpower. At this point we can safely send them to the front lines. Or we can wait a little bit longer. Let's wait for them to have full organization. That's about right. Let's paint a field marshal level order here, but don't activate it yet. I want to finish the focus first. Also, they can get a bit of a planning bonus before we push. Now the border is secure. Landsturm regiment units will be disbanded after the war anyway. I can put them on aggressive. Prioritize economic growth is complete. Let's wait a little bit until we have 300 political power. You will not get it so easily if you're justifying on someone, but it's your choice. And now we can do two things while we're still non-aligned and in a war with high war support. First, we can go to extensive conscription, which will be difficult to do once you go democratic or non-aligned. And now we can also do war economy or partial mobilization back. We started with partial mobilization, but then the focus dropped us to civilian economy. So, partial mobilization or war economy. It depends on what? On whether you're attacking people after this. Let's say if you plan to attack people before the end of 37, you can pretty reliably do war economy and gather enough war support to sustain it. But if you don't have enough war support after the Civil War and still are on war economy, you will get strikes and things will get unpleasant. So if you're planning a more peaceful run, maybe you want to prepare more before attacking anybody, or rely on diplomacy, then partial mobilization is the choice for you. Long story short, attack people soon, war economy. Don't attack people soon, partial mobilization. Let's take that one. Okay, now we're ready to win the Civil War and be done with it. Go aggressive, activate order, crush the enemy. As for a national focus, there are two good choices here. You can construct the Autobahn to unlock the research slot faster, or you can rally the nation to get a bit of a boost from paramilitary wings. This will be bypassed after the war anyway, and honestly, I really don't think it's necessary for democracies to do rally the nation. But you can. I'll do it just to show you the choice in paramilitary wings and what happens after. So just skipping it is fine as well. And we fight. As you can see, we're so much stronger than our enemy that this war will be very quick and will crush them. Basically, we have a 5 times stronger army than they do. Because, well, they deployed a few units, I can see mountaineers here, but they're also relying on the artillery I gave them. And the artillery I gave them, watch this, they die when attacked. Boom. Immediately. If you want to do some micro, it will make the war faster. But we have 5 armies of relatively decent troops, and they have 1 army of decent troops and 4 or 5 armies of trash. Also, we have the bonuses from von Mackensen. So, roughly 5 times stronger. If we unpause this and just wait, you will see. You won't see because there's events popping up. But yeah, they'll just be killed very quickly and easily. No need for micromanagement. You can just rely on the field marshal attack order, as you can see here. Rally the nation is complete. A reformation of paramilitary wings. There are 2 choices here, the non-aligned option and the democratic option. As we're going for democracy, we'll pick the Iron Front, and it gives us 5% of democratic support. You can do denazification campaigns if you want stability at this point, or you can just focus on your economy. Let's do denazification campaigns. Some extra political power and stability is always useful. Now we just observe as our forces take over Germany and annihilate everybody. As you can see, I get lots of events. Oh yeah, Hitler found dead. Excellent, because we took Berlin, and the Civil War is about to be over. Just field marshal level attack order. No need for micro, but you can do micro too. And no need to worry about the Silesian rebellion because this happens so quickly. If I do a manual attack on Breslau, or Wrocław as it's known today, they'll just die. So let's do it. And there it is. Civil War is over. Quick, easy, done. We're not totally out of the woods yet, because if we can't stabilize the country soon enough, there will be a rebellion in Silesia. It's not a difficult fight, but it costs you political power and stability. So I'd rather avoid it. At this point, the Civil War is taken care of. Now let's stabilize our new democratic nation. German Civil War ends, Nazi leadership captured. You can spare them, you can even flip back to fascism, but I do prefer to just execute them. Let's do that. Future of paramilitary wings. You can get free 5% stability from this, or just replace them with a weaker variant. See, this is not a modifier we get, this is the change to the modifier we have. So if we modify the Eiserne Front with this, we'll still have it. Let me show you. Here it is unmodified, some manpower and some democracy support. When I unpause, it changes. It's still extra extra recruitable population, and daily democracy support, which is pretty nice for a country going democratic. And it's a modifier we keep forever. Now we enter the stabilization phase. Growing public dissent, and Mackensen retires from the military. This is another mission. We have to tend to the future of Germany soon, or there will be trouble. No worries, we will tend to it soon. The Nazification campaigns, there's not a lot of Nazism left. It's not a problem, but we get stability and political power from it. Revitalize the nation and rebuild the nation are not that good. I would just skip them, unless you wanna hire Philipp Holzmann. Now we tend to the future of Germany. Research. All this time I'm just doing generic research because I don't plan to attack anybody. If you are planning to do so, just adjust your research accordingly. And at this point, we can go communist or monarchist. In order to become a democracy, you need to do monarchist sentiment, monarchy compromise, and then re-establish free elections. Let's. Growing public dissent will be dealt with in time. You can improve work conditions now, but I'll save that for advisors. Next up, the monarchy compromise. So, a constitutional monarchy, kind of like Britain. The democratic path has a lot of stability. And we re-establish free elections. Return of democracy. Now you have a choice between Konrad Adenauer and Hans Figl. If you choose Figl, there will be elections. If you choose Adenauer, there will not be elections. But Adenauer is pretty good. He gives you political power and stability. So we pick him. And boom, we're democratic now. Now you're free to pursue the wonderful focuses of Weltpolitik and Realpolitik. Befriend France here, befriend Britain here, boost your research, and build an alliance, and then peacefully annex your friends like I did in my Democratic Germany video. Let's keep it going for 70 more days, so I can recommend advisors. Because if we ban political uniforms now, get some more political power, there it goes, and now we can embrace liberal leanings or strive for conservative values. Embracing liberal leanings is stronger in my opinion. 35 more days, there it goes. Now our advisors are cheaper. As you can see, it's just 112 for each of them. The advisors I recommend for a democratic run are Theodor Heuss, political power gain 10%, democracy support 0.05 a day, and actually he makes the Eiserne Front redundant, so you don't need to mobilize the paramilitary wings if you're taking him for the democracy support. Adolf Friedrich of Mecklenburg, because he gets a boost from Weltpolitik, and he's actually pretty good. Helps with resistance too. And now either Kurt Schumacher for political power and stability and extra democracy, or Wilhelm Canaris for spies, if you want to play with spies, also gets a boost from a focus that gives you 2 operatives in total. So basically, if you want to play with spies, Canaris. If you don't want to play with spies, Kurt. And you can also afford to switch to free trade, which is great for its boost to research and factory output and construction. One last thing, if you are democratic, it's imperative that you go into army command, spirit of the army, and to do relief of command. It's very, very strong. It gives you 25% extra army experience gain and makes your army advisors cost half. So with that, these dudes are just 50 political power. And that's it. Democratic Germany, ready to conquer the world. January 1937, we're making 2.82 political power per day, 182 if we're doing a focus, 80% stability, 2.4 million manpower, 76 factories. Pretty good setup, isn't it? And you can knock yourself out and play with Realpolitik. We have a debuff to the economy, but all in all, it's not that bad. When you have some free time, follow the focus tree and decrease the penalties. That's it for democracy. Let's move on to another ideology. Time for the non-aligned version. It's very similar to the democratic one. We're back at the divergence point where I just started training my army. I will mostly be explaining the differences from the democratic one. The main and first difference is that we're not going straight into rally the Wehrmacht. We're doing prioritize economic growth first. Why? Because it reduces the popularity of the ruling party. If we do it now, it will reduce the popularity of fascism. If we do it after the civil war starts, it will reduce the popularity of non-aligned. And if you're going non-aligned, that's a bad thing. So, prioritize economic growth. And now we wait for the troops to be ready for deployment. It will take a month or so. Deploy all of them ahead of time as quickly as possible. All in the same army, 233 of the small template. We switch them to trash artillery. And wait until they actually get their equipment. Because their stats are bad, but not so terrible right now, thanks to the infantry equipment they have. But once they receive the artillery, the infantry equipment goes back into stockpile because the unit cannot have 0 equipment. It will happen in a moment. Maybe we can observe the change in stats live. Can we do that? Yes, you can see they're now much weaker with just 2 cannons for the entire unit. And now we challenge Hitler. Rally the Wehrmacht. No, also spy please. And I'll keep boosting the agency while we can. We're ready for the civil war. Loyalty of the Kriegsmarine, same as last time. Option 2. Austria Appetite. We pick the option that doesn't cost us political power. Still doing generic research and boosting the agency because when you get 5 upgrades, you receive another spy. We've paid off the Mefo bills. Excellent. Wehrmacht officers challenge Hitler. Before we click the button, we have 300 political power now. This this is the last moment to start justifying war goals. Same as with democracy, you can start justifying war goals as a fascist country, then flip non-aligned, and then still use them. If you intend to attack someone, I recommend Dutch East Indies, because you get 2 countries for the price of 1 with very low world tension and high amount of resources. Or you can just not attack anybody. For the sake of this guide, I will just not attack anybody. Purge the Nazi scum from our lands, civil war starts. Let's tend to the army first. We receive Landsturmregiment, which is just simple infantry, and our enemy receives the same. Also, the terrible artillery is here. I'm going to switch all of it to the infantry 8 template. Maybe using an infantry 6 template would be better, because we don't have enough infantry equipment for it. Doesn't matter that much. If you want, you can trim it down so you just have 3 armies of that, not 4. But same as with democracy, I will disband 20 of them to have a full army group. Landsturmregiment goes to the front lines to attack in a cautious manner, so we're not pushed back. Von Mackensen as field marshal, offensive doctrine, and the rest of them just wait here until they can get their equipment and manpower. As for the focus, as non-aligned, we will do rally the nation. It's more useful to us than it is to the democratic people, because non-aligned boosts are not as easy to come by as democratic boosts. Also, we have 300 political power. We can use it to get advisors like Adolf, but instead we'll fix our economy and manpower. Extensive conscription, we can do it easily now and it will be difficult later, and either war economy or partial mobilization. Once again, same as with democracy, if you intend to attack someone soon, before the end of 37, then you can go with war economy and just weather the strikes for a little while until you get enough war support to maintain it. You need 50 war support. Or if you don't intend to be aggressive or just don't want the hassle of, observing your war support all the time, then you can go with partial mobilization instead. We'll do that one. And we wait for these guys to get their manpower and equipment. Manpower is trickling in, but until they get their equipment, they're really not combat ready. Expatriated communists returning home. We're going non-aligned, so no. And let's send the spy to help us. These guys have received their manpower mostly, but they still haven't got the equipment. Now they have received the equipment. Let's wait for the organization to go up, and now we can paint the field marshal level order. Let's not forget the Air Force, which I kind of forgot this time. If you don't want to assign it manually, just give it to one of your generals as support, like this. Now we wait for our guys to get to the front lines and get their organization. We switch everybody to aggressive, and do we attack yet? Yes, we do. We attack. Reformation of the paramilitary wings. We're going non-aligned, so Bismarck-Jugend it is. Mostly for the non-aligned boost. Next focus, the Nazification campaigns. Just 35 days. The war might be over by then. Right, everybody on the front lines, everybody organized. Don't really have enough infantry equipment, but that's fine. You can reduce their numbers or do 6 with 1. But even if they don't have enough guns, they have a decent amount of HP, thanks to the size of the unit. Okay, attack. And once again, you'll see we're so vastly superior that just a field marshal level order of attack will be enough to win this civil war quickly and easily. Because the enemy is using what? The terrible units I gave them. They're so weak that, once again, let me show you, I attack and they die immediately. You can do micro if you want, but it is really not necessary. Just let them attack. Berlin taken, Hitler found dead, Nazi expulsion, not really a problem. Let's fix the order, go further. If you want to speed it up, you can just, micro like this for victory points. They're mostly using the artillery I gave them, so there's no defense. We just walk into their territory. Yes, it's an exploit. It is for people who don't want to fight the civil war fairly. The Nazification campaign's complete. Will the war end before I can complete another focus? Yes, it will. So let's not select another focus just yet. The civil war is over, and we can immediately tend to the future of Germany. Leadership captured, hanged them. Von Mackensen retires, that's fine. And the future of the paramilitary wings, we can disband them for stability, but I prefer to keep them just diminished. Why? Let me show you. Bismarck-Jugend gives us some recruitable population, which doesn't matter, but also a daily boost for non-aligned, which does matter. Now we enter the stabilization phase after the war. Let me guide you through it, and I almost forgot. Almost. It's very important. If you want to do Kaiserreich and have Victoria on the throne, you need to sharpen air safety regulations before the Hindenburg can burn, because we will need it. So here, we've sharpened air safety regulations, and fortunately, we were not too late. We need monarchist sentiment to become non-aligned. Well, we are non-aligned, but more non-aligned. We have enough political power for an advisor. Hire Adolf Friedrich of Mecklenburg. He gives political power, and he gets upgraded later on. Now we revive the Kaiserreich. Revive the Kaiserreich is complete. Now we have a choice. Military dictatorship or a return of the Kaiser. The military dictatorship is pretty straightforward, so let's do return the Kaiser instead, because there are some intricacies in it. Essentially, the Netherlands will get an event that we want Wilhelm II back. If our army is strong and they feel intimidated, they will give him back. If our army is weak and they do not fear us, they will try to keep him. So I will actually disband my army so they try and keep him. Why? If you want to get Victoria, and I think a lot of people playing the Kaiserreich path want Victoria, Victoria, then you need to do this. Because to get Victoria, you cannot get Wilhelm II, you need Wilhelm III. So we can go to war with Netherlands and possibly France over this, since they're not afraid of us and they blocked the return of the Kaiser, or we can back down. We will back down, and Wilhelm III is our popular figurehead. At this point, we're done. We can proceed with Weltpolitik and Realpolitik, create our faction of Mitteleuropa, befriend the Brits if we want to, and just knock yourself out with the Kaiserreich path. It's important to note that if you want Victoria to take over your country, you need the Anglo-German Defense Pact, then you need to reinstate Prince Wilhelm's right of succession, then modernize succession laws, then request restoration of British titles, also need good relations with Britain, and then send Victoria as a liaison to prepare the ceremony, and then send the entire royal family on the Hindenburg to die. I did a Victoria video, refer to that for details. Also note that if you expatriate the communists, France will turn communist, giving you a reason to invade them. That non-aligned Germany, after the Civil War, stabilized as a monarchy. If you want Wilhelm II instead, maintain a scary big army, and the Netherlands should fold and given to you. Let's go back to the divergence point and tackle communism. Once again, we're back at the point when I just started training my troops. This time we're going communist, and the moves we make will be significantly different actually. The army stuff will remain the same, but we'll have to pay a bit more attention to the details. Aiming for communism, not non-aligned, so a rally the Wehrmacht happens immediately. We don't wait for the economic growth. Let's pause. Once again, same thing with the army. Deploy these guys as soon as possible, and Kriegsmarine is a no unless you want an admiral in charge. Deploy everybody, they're in the field, everyone together, switch from small template to the trash artillery, and wait for them to actually get artillery. The communist path is a bit more tricky because you kinda have to make the Civil War last a bit longer. We've rallied the Wehrmacht. Once again, we're still fascists, we can justify right now, but it's less of an issue because we're going communist, and communists can justify as well. We will briefly be non-aligned, but then we'll have the justification freedom. So let's not and start the Civil War. Conscription and economy are less of an issue right now because we will be communist, and communists can freely go to war economy or extensive conscription, just need enough war support. So we can safely ignore that for now. Also, as we are going communist, rally the nation has no value to us. We will now prioritize economic growth to lower non-aligned support and fix our economy. The problem with the communist path is that we actually need 50% communism to go communist, which makes it a little bit more complex. Send the spy over, tend to the army, same as before, Landsturm Regiment goes straight to the border and attacks, and the rest gets switched into proper infantry units from the trash artillery, and they wait in a safe spot to receive equipment and manpower. Assign generals, don't forget the planes, boost von Mackensen, and spy on other Germany. We can actually decrypt them if you intend to boost your decryption, but we won't manage to do it in time. This is mostly pointless. For now, we proceed as usual. Federal state doesn't matter. Wait for these guys to receive manpower and equipment. This is the first major point of divergence for the communist path. Expatriated communists returning home, we click Welcome back, comrades. That gives us some communist support, but it's not enough. Same as before, we wait for the troops to become viable. They're now receiving infantry equipment, but unlike before, we don't want to win the Civil War too quickly. Well, regardless, they can go to the front lines now, but let's not take Berlin just yet. Attack, but don't win. Ernst Thälmann liberated from prison. This is very important to us. I saved up political power for him. We hire Ernst. He's here, a proletariat, a leader. He will give us daily communist support, and we need it. Let me show you the focus I'm talking about. The people's victory requires 50% for communists, and if we don't get there quickly enough, after winning our first Civil War, there will be a second Civil War. I even tested it, thinking that fighting the second Civil War will be less hassle than turning communist, but it turns out the second Civil War doesn't actually increase your communist support, so you fight it, but you have to boost communism anyway, so it's pointless. And just as before, we are beating the enemy easily, but I want to stop before we actually win. Prioritize economic growth is done. We do not rally the nation this time. I don't want the paramilitary wings. So instead, we can either boost our army with the Prussian legacy a little bit, or boost our economy with Construct Kaiserliche Autobahn. We don't have full control of these areas, but it doesn't really matter. It's just one infrastructure each, so it's negligible. This is important for unlocking the research slot. Oh, I forgot the planes, didn't I? Let's send them to the front lines too. Same as always, just add them to one army and they can handle themselves. Or if you prefer, do them manually. Do pay attention to the surrender threshold. Did we take... Yeah, we took Berlin. So now we need to pay close attention to their surrender threshold, especially now that Adolf is dead. We press on, but only enough to almost win. So then we can push towards victory at a point of our choosing, not too fast. Okay, this is great. We will cancel the attack up north, switch them all to balanced or cautious. I suppose we can go cautious, hold these guys, and only attack here. We'll leave this for a later conquest. I put them on cautious so they shouldn't attack on their own, but do observe them. If they attack too far, you press H to halt a unit, and do pay attention to their surrender threshold. Do not win yet. Let's do some micro down here, as why not? Right, looks like being cautious is not too good. We've done the Kaiserische Autobahn, now Wilhelmshaven. Looks like putting them on cautious doesn't actually work, so instead, you guys will be on cautious, just guarding the border, and then I'll reassign the remaining troops down here and actually put them on aggressive. The large storm regiments can hold the north, being cautious, while the rest aggressively takes out this bit. And if there's trouble, we'll just manually reinforce them. By my estimate, we should be fine and not win too quickly without seizing Rostock, Stettin, Breslau and so on. But I might be wrong, so do pay attention. Just in case, I'm going to stop the attack on München. Let's detach these guys to a different army, hold them, and you guys can just stand here, surrounding it. Don't attack until I tell you to. Wilhelmshaven is done. We can now proceed to currency reforms. That will help our economy a little bit. The goal here is to prolong the civil war as much as possible without triggering the rebellion in Silesia. So 2 more focuses and then we press for victory. I want to prolong it as much as possible so we can accumulate communist support. This will give me quite a lot of army experience, won't it? Currency reforms, and don't lower taxes because it boosts non-aligned. We don't want that. Housing development, though, is safe. A lot of army experience here. Oh, they deployed new troops in München. How far are you from capitulation? Actually, still far. I should be able to take München safely. Attack. And the rest of you, go and take München, and also go and take the rest of Germany. I will trigger the attack. Yeah, we can trigger it now. Then we can do 10 to the future of Germany as our next focus. Probably. Press on. Aggressively. We'll do a manual attack on the victory points down here, and up here too. And we will soon be done. It would be nice to prolong the war a little more, get more communist support, but if the rebellion in Silesia happens, we lose 50 political power and 5 stability, and I'd rather not lose that. Almost done here. München still endures. Perhaps I should have taken it earlier, but we're almost there. With Breslau, 94 towards capitulation. Once we take these 2, they should surrender. And they do. Excellent. The end of the Civil War. Let's let this finish. 2 more days. German Civil War ends. Nazi leadership captured. We do hang them. We want fascism to go down. And we are at 31% communism, which is not enough, but we will get there. Now we tend to the future of Germany. No paramilitary wings to disband this time. And growing public dissent, yes. This can become a bit of an issue, can't it? August retires. We need to get this to 50, and that is a bit of a problem. We can theoretically do anti-fascist and anti-democratic raids to boost communism a little bit, but it is not the optimal way to do it. Switzerland, yeah, we don't really care. After 10 to the future of Germany, we start the proletariat revolution. This activates a mission that will trigger a civil war if we don't turn communist fast enough. Don't worry, we will. Proletariat revolution focus complete. Now, we need 50 for this. We will get 3 communism from Resurrect a Red Front and another 3 from political commissars, so that's 6. We're at 34. We need 10 more. First, we formalize the intelligence wing. That will give us extra daily communist support, and we hire Walter Ulbricht, political power and communist support too. The civil war is over, but we still need to stabilize the country so we don't get another. And we have 2 timeout missions, growing public dissent, which will cost us a little bit of stability if we let it time out, and this one causes a civil war. Don't worry, we'll handle it. Some of these decisions on the map will be necessary, though. Formalize the intelligence wing, another boost to our communism. We resurrect the Red Front Fighters League. This will also prolong the mission that leads to the civil war a little bit. But don't worry, we will not let it break out. We're almost ready to switch communist. Now we do political commissars, that will be 3% communism. We're now at 42, so that'll be 45, and we're going to need to take 2 of these decisions from the map. Each of them costs 25 political power, gives some communism based on the state population, and decreases our stability by double the communism it gives. Pick the 2 highest communism ones, so that will be Hanover for 1.8 and Holstein for 1.4 for a total of 3.2 communism when this is done, and 3 from this, so that's 6.2, and the remaining 2% will gain on the way from just, passive boosts. If you're a little bit short, don't worry, these prolong the time until the Civil War, and if you got an advisor late or something like that or miscalculated, you can just pick a 3rd one for another boost, like this is 1%. There are 2 other ways you can do this. You can start anti-democratic and anti-fascist raids earlier when you're fighting the Civil War, or you can prolong the Civil War even more and let the Silesian uprising happen. But this is my favorite method because it is the fastest and most efficient, in my opinion. We're at 44. 47 from the events and another 3 from the focus, 50.7, which is enough for the people's victory. Let's do that. And we still have 6 days on growing public dissent. Don't worry, we'll only be a little bit late on this, and it will cost us a little bit of stability in political power. This will be removed very soon, and proletariat revolution has been pushed back, so we don't need to worry about that either. So yeah, uncertain future, just a little trick. You can just leave this pop-up to the side. It will automatically expire in 10 days from now, but we will not be getting the negative effects until it is clicked. Just let it automatically expire, because, you know, this continuously reduces stability, which is a bummer, but we will not lose much. We also got some militia. They're weak, but hey, free troops. And with this, the people's victory, we are now communist. Red. Terrible. Okay, that's it. We turned communist. Now, I didn't deal with the economy or the conscription because you're now communist, so you just need enough war support to switch to the desired one. Same with conscription laws. Now you have a choice between the legacy of the Spartacus League, proletariat dictatorship. The right side of the tree is more Soviet aligned with the spheres of influence. You will basically divide the world between the Soviet Union and yourself. So you get to carve up the world with the Soviet Union's cooperation. The left side of the tree is, in my opinion, more interesting because you get to spark revolutions in the neighboring countries and then pull them into your sphere of influence. And there's a lot of fighting here. Let's complete legacy of the Spartacus League so I can show you how the leader improves, because right now he's pretty terrible. Also, we lost him as a political advisor. We don't need to worry about communist support anymore. It is constantly boosted by our modifiers and advisors. No, Denmark, thank you. And Erstalman is bad, but he's about to become good with this, because we can switch him to Heinrich, is not that great, or keep him and make him better. And we will. You know, boosts quite a lot of stuff. We are now People's Republic of Germany. Have fun corrupting Europe into communism, but first, let's talk about advisors. In this path, you get Otto Rühle, who gives political power and the research speed and communism. He's very good, so let's get him. And as the final advisor, I would choose either August for factory output and resources, or Hermann for compliance. Optionally, you can get Ludwig to save on changing the laws a bit and to boost your consumer goods. And that's it really. These are my recommendations on how to handle the civil war for each ideology easily. Once again, this video has been sponsored by Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus. Make sure to follow the link in the video description or scan the QR code on the screen and try the game out. Use the code HelloJan for 2000 gold and 50 Blackstone until the end of the month. I hope you enjoyed this video, and do let me know what you thought in the comments. I'm trying slightly different things with my content, so do comment. I welcome all feedback. And I hope this is helpful to at least some of you. I will see you soon. Goodbye.